When demons are awakened from the darkness and turn the world into a living hell, the goddess of faith will select 6 heroes, and these 6 will be given the powers to save the world. It is always only 6 that are chosen, and for this reason they're known as the Brave of the 6 Flowers. A mysterious man called Adletmayer came to Piena to prove himself in front of the goddess of fate. In order to become a brave, he has the verbal tick of calling himself the strongest man in the world in almost every sentence, a verbal tick that people often poke fun at, calling him an idiot and all sorts of insults. He interrupted the semi-final match between Battle and Quado in the holy tournament that chooses the Braves, proclaiming to be the strongest man in the world. The Royal Guards tried to stop Adlet, but he took them out afterward. He fought the 2 warriors and incapacitated them both before being captured by more guards and thrown into jail. While in jail, the maid sneaked inside to meet Adlet. She was impressed by his fight and asked him about his fighting style, philosophy and goals. Adlet replied that he believes he will become a brave, one of the 6 chosen warriors to fight the demon god, who also goes by the Magin, and that he wishes to fight alongside Princess Nashatania if she were to be chosen as a brave. Padlet also discovers that something where someone has been killing the 6 braves. He is then moved to an isolated prison cell in a pit for many days and nights. Adlet remained in the dark pit with barely any food and water. Some weeks later the braves were chosen and Adlet received the crest of the 6 flowers on his right hand. The maid arrived, revealed to be the princess, much to Adlet's surprise, and rescued him from his cell. Nashatania showed him her crest and goes on to free him from his cell at the expense of her soldiers, trapping them in the same pit they had thrown Adlet in. They both fled from Piena and began heading west on horseback towards the land of the howling demons to meet the other braves and defeat the demon god. For several days Adlet and Nashatania got to know each other through talking and sparring. Upon rebuking her, Adlet found out about her mischievous nature. When she pretended to be saddened and scared of his anger towards her, he was also able to see how her abilities worked and her free-spiritedness, which usually provokes him. Despite that, they began to grow closer, but when a village in their path was attacked by the Kayoma, which are evil demons, Adlet and Nashatania rushed to their defense and were able to fight together briefly. However, as they were escorting villagers away, Adlet learned of a single girl who had stayed behind. Nashatania implored Adlet that their mission to defeat the demon god was more important than helping one girl and possibly being killed by a Kaiwa before then. Unable to do so, Adlet went on ahead of her, leaving Nashatania to defend the villagers against any remaining Kayawoma. Upon reaching the village, Adlet was surprised to find several Kayoma corpses and a ball of iron is the only evidence. Then he found a girl with white hair and black clothing helping a dog and its young pup, setting them free. Flamey Speedra tells Adlet to leave her alone, stating she must fight the Magin by herself. However, Adlet chases after her until she is forced to travel with him. He sends a message to Nashatania with his horse telling her he found another of the 6 braves and to continue towards the peninsula where the Magin is. Without him, Adlet and Flamey eventually run into a fortress where soldiers explain to them about a barrier that should help the braves in a nearby temple. As Adlet and Flamey continued to travel, they were suddenly attacked by Nashatania and Goldofora, who was another one of the 6 braves and almost like Nashatania's personal guard. Nashatania warns Adlet to stay away from Flamey as they suspect that she is the 6th flower's killer. As Flamey and Nashatania fight from a distance, Goldof charges at her. Adlet tries to stop him, but Goldof pushes him aside, trying to end the fight. Adlet shouts for all of them to stop and says that Flamey is not their enemy, as she is also one of the 6 braves. Nashatania and Goldof are surprised and inform Adlet that Flamey is the 6th flower's killer. Flamey does not deny it and confirms that she is indeed the killer. She then names some of her victims and then says that Goldof and Nashatania are also her targets. While aiming her gun at them, Adlet asks if Laura, a saint that recently went missing, was also her target. Flamey answers that she was, but that she does not know what happened to her. Adlet then asks her why she killed all the potential braves, and Flamey replies that the Magin could only return if weak warriors remain to be chosen as braves. Goldof and Nashatania are now convinced she is their enemy and are about to kill Flamey when Adlet blocks them. He refuses to believe that someone trying to revive the demon god would be chosen as a brave and says that he will side with Flamey if he has to fight. Nashatania finally decides to agree with Adlet and tells Goldof that they'll stop fighting. She then informs Flamey that she still doesn't believe her and that she only trusts Adlet. As the group continues their journey, they notice several flying Kayoma heading for the temple. The braves rush to the temple but are blocked by a different group of Kayoma. As they babble, Nashatani instructs Adlet to go ahead to the temple. When Adlet reaches the temple, he notices an injured priestess. He tries to help her, but she tells him to hurry inside. Padlet tries to open the door, but it does not open, so he blasts it open with some explosives. Immediately afterward, too Armored soldiers exit from the inside and attack Adlet. He tries to ask the priestess what had happened, but she turns out to be a shape-shifting Kiowa and escapes after defeating the soldiers, who turn out to be just suits of armor. Adlet feels a cold sense of dread before entering the temple and notices mist appearing from the ground, fearing someone had already activated the barrier. Adlet then enters the activation chamber only to discover that his fear had come true when he notices the sword had already been shoved into the pedestal. He looks around the room but does not find anyone else inside. Nashatania, Flamey and Goldoff arrive, and Nashatania asks Adlet why he activated the barrier. Adlet insists it was not him and that someone else activated it and then disappeared. Fearing that they are trapped, the group proceeds to the pedestal and confirms that the sword is still inside. While the group tries to figure out what has happened, Goldoff manages to turn off the barrier and remove the sword, but Flamey says that the fog is still there. Adlet tries to turn it off by cutting his hand and dripping his blood on the pedestal while reciting barrier release, but nothing changed. Nashatania then panics, grabbing the sword and attacking the pedestal, shouting barrier release, and claims that she was the owner of the barrier while breaking the slap. Flamey stops her, telling her that there is no point in panicking when they suddenly hear footsteps. A young girl called Chama arrives and asks what had happened. She recognizes the members of the group except for Adlet. Adlet asks who she is and Chama introduces herself and announces that she was also chosen as a brave. Adlet tells Chama that he is the strongest man in the world, but ends up confusing Chama as she is said to be the most powerful person in history besides the goddess of fate. Chama then decides that they should kill Flamey, who also prepares for a fight, but Adlet and Nashatania stop them. Another one of the 6 braves arrives, a girl called Mora, who's wondering what the group is arguing over, but quickly realizes that Shamat was about to start a fight. Mora then orders Chama to stop and tells the group that there is an outsider among them. She reveals that she had been traveling with a man she met the day before called Hans Humpty, who is also a brave. Adlet orders everyone to show their crests, and they realize that there are 7 of them. Laura tells everyone the story of the saint of the single flower who split her power into 6 for each of the braves, so it was impossible for there to be more or less than 6 of them. Padlet and Hans went outside to find a way out, but unfortunately they went in circles. When they went back, they saw Flamey cuffed as the initial 7th brave and the prime suspect for activating the barrier. Mora then suggests they introduce themselves to gather information about each other. During Flamey's introduction, she revealed herself as a half-human half-Kayawama entity born from a human father and a fiend mother. Hadlet then reveals his story, but Hans saw a flaw in it, therefore making him the prime suspect. Hadlet, in his confusion and anxiety, took Flamey as his hostage and poisoned her to keep her unconscious. He escapes the temple, but Hans managed to throw a dagger on him, slowing him down. He then passed out because of the blood loss. While escaping, while he was down, he remembered how he went to his master and begged to take him as his student. As he regained consciousness, he noticed he had bandages on and realizes that Flamey patched him up. They both talked about their pasts, and as they open up to each other, he then speculated that there might be an 8th grave who helped the 7th, and that he needs to find out to prove his innocence. Padlet told Flamey about his past, how he was taught to fight and even learned science from his master. He also talked about a lizard-like humanoid Kayama who had 3 wings and went to their village when he was young. Flamey then confirmed that it was the same fiends who convinced her mother to give birth to her. Because of this, Adlet's best friend and sister died, leaving him behind. Flamey then reveals that her mother had pretended to love her and tried to kill her after Flamey disappointed her as she couldn't kill Shamat. Feeling betrayed by her own world as well as everything she loved, she cut ties with the Kayoma and gained the strong resolution of killing the Majin in retaliation. They then parted ways and Flamey headed back to the others inside the temple. The other braves devised a plan to capture and kill Adlet as they split into groups. To search for Adlet, he went to the temple where he was attacked by Hans. Adlet was able to escape, but then engaged in a battle with Hans in the forest. Adlet is trying to convince Hans somehow that he is not the 7th, but Hans suspects him still. As Adlet tried to trick Hans, he did not kill him when he had the chance to prove that he is not the imposter. Hans then told Adlet that he is the 7th brave, slicing his throat open. Adlet then realized that it was a hallucination, and Hans decided to believe in him as he saw his dying reaction, which would be different had he been the imposter. Meanwhile, Nashatania speculated that Hans might be the 7th brave and is asking Goldoff for help and to trust her that Adlet is innocent. Hadlet and Hans went back to the temple to find clues, but Chama was outside and decided she was bored of waiting, so she would just kill everyone to see if they were the traitor, attacking both of them by summoning her Jima, which are like her pets. Adlet and Hans battled Chama, but her fiends would always regenerate, making them hard to defeat. They then thought of incapacitating Shamat to stop the fiends. It was a success and they captured Shamat. They asked her if she knows anything about the activation of the barrier and she nodded no. Adlet went to search for more clues and used the bomb that Flamey gave to give a signal to her. Flamey notices the signal and they meet each other. Adlet hypothesized about a saint's involvement in the matter, but Flamey rebuked them. Back at the temple, Hans told Mora and Shama the same thing, but Mara refused to believe it. Meanwhile, Nashatanya confirms with Goldub if someone died by checking her crest. Atlet told Flamey his theory about the seventh and then confessed his love for her, but she became even more skeptical, believing Atlet was trying to deceive her. Hans told Moran and Shamo the same hypothesis, which made Mora call for Nashatanya and Goldov to use their powers. She told them that Hans was severely injured by Adlet, making Nashatanya snap and furious that she had trusted and defended him. Flamey pursued the escaping outlet and made a signal to the others of their location. Mora caught up and the three engaged in a battle, but then Adlet surrendered and convinced Mora about Flamey's innocence so the others wouldn't suspect her if he dies. Mora tried to kill Adlet, but Flamey decided to believe Adlet and stopped Mora. Adlet and Flamey then escaped but were cornered by Nashatanya and Goldov, who were also out to kill Adlet because of Mora's lie had let in. Flamey were cornered by Mora, Nashatanya and Goldov. Adlet tried to go back to the temple to meet with Hans while Flamey backed him up. However, Mora and Goldov stopped Flamey and Nashatanya pursued Adlet. In the process he felt the chills as Nashatanya gave the final blow and blocked her weapon, using his hands, kicking her to escape. Goldov followed him until they went back to the place where they fought the fiends near the temple. As Goldov, Nashatanya, Mora and the captured Flamey got back together, Nashatanya was shocked to see Shamat with Hans alive. She then apologized to Adlet for attacking him. Adlet finally made a conclusion as to how he or she might have done it. His theory involved the Sun Saint Rira being kidnapped and was told to raise the temperature for over a week. As soon as one of the braves opened the temple, they killed her, dropping the temperature, and Athene, her body. Hans was able to find the body, which then concludes as to who the seventh brave was. Padlet reveals that Mora might have been the seventh brave if his deductions were correct, but Shamat rebuked his conclusion. She and Hans were able to find copies of the tablet and tools that might have been used for the real activation of the barrier on the second tablet, or instructions to reactivate the fog barrier, which was by removing the knife and shattered tablet, dripping blood all over the stand, reciting the spell and breaking the tablet. This made everyone think that the person who broke the tablet was the seventh brave. Flamey confirmed that it was Nashatanya, shocking everyone by deduction. Adlet also thought that the person who sent him to the temple was the one who planned everything from the very beginning, as he confirmed it. Nashatanya then surrendered and claimed that she really is the seventh brave, and Goldov was shocked. Nashatanya told them that she wanted to kill them all because she believed that humans and fiends could live together in peace, but around 500,000 humans might die in the process. Adlet then ordered everyone to kill her, but she escaped. Adlet fainted due to the loss of blood, and as he regained consciousness, Mora apologized to him for not knowing who the seventh brave was and also took care of his wounds. After resting, they all went outside to go to the Demon King, but to their surprise they met Relonia, Adlet's childhood friend and the Saint of Blood, who apologizes for being late because of the fog and claims that she is one of the braves. During the confusion, troops from Gwenbai went to the temple to tell everyone that more than 1,000 fiends would gather there to go back to the land of the howling demons. They stopped thinking first as to who might be the seventh brave and strategize to kill the Demon King, and this brings the anime to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.